Hi, everybody. I'm Andrea Truejoy Fox, your host for Talks with a Fox podcast. I am so happy you have joined me on this journey of self-discovery, where I will share stories and lessons that I have learned through my journey as a teacher, as an artist, as a Blackfoot woman, and as a human being. Now get ready to be inspired, to feel connected, and to dream big as you grow your goals and reflect on your own journey in this exciting place called life. So grab a coffee or a tea and join our conversation here in the Fox Den for Talks with the Fox podcast, where we will share stories, laughter, and inspiration. I just want to thank everyone who's been following all of our social media and liking and commenting on our page. I want to let you know that we appreciate the inquiries that we have received regarding how you can further support the podcast. So we have gone ahead and set up a Patreon account where you can subscribe and support the podcast. Feel free to go to patreon.com/Talks with the Fox podcast. That's Patreon, Patreon. There's also a link to the Patreon page on our Buzzsprout page, so stop on by, where you can donate the amount of your choosing. And thank you very much to every single one of you who is out there listening and who has been sharing the podcast with your circle of friends and everyone else around the world. These stories are meant to inspire and ignite your fires. So please continue to join us on this exciting journey about life. Okay, and welcome to Talks with the Fox podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Truejoy Fox. And I have a very exciting special episode here because I have a return guest, also known as my soul sister, my Cree sister from another mister, and together we are Creefoot. Tanze, Jacqueline Ahcahkoskwew, welcome. You have returned from the great Cree North. Tell me, how are you doing today?
Dance. Okay, Andrea. My name is Ahcahkoskwew, which means spirit woman in my language. I actually got schooled on that by an elder recently because all along I was calling myself Mantuskwew in the way I translated spirit woman. But yeah, she's like, no, it's Ahcahkoskwew. I'm like, okay, thanks for the correction.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
I love it. Welcome, and we are sitting here live on location in Mohkins, which is the Blackfoot word for Calgary, relating to the elbow. You know, as some of you are familiar with the Elbow River that runs through the city of Calgary, located on Blackfoot territory. We are decolonizing this space as we sit here and speak and connect, and we are outside, and it's beautiful, it's sunny, the birds are singing.
We buried our hatchet between Cree and Blackfoot for the most part.
We did. I stress the most part.
Yes. We're still ironing out the fine details. Those little tiny arrows that fling around.
Oh, yeah, you got to have those.
Keeps each other on their toes.
Well, I think the real test will be when I try some of your moose nose soup, and maybe I get you to try some raw kidney when you come south.
Guess what? I've had raw kidney. Yeah.
That's right. I forget. You are practically Blackfoot.
I know.
That's why we work.
I know. I'm a great student. I know
you
how to work
are.
my way around things, you know.
Jackie, that's what makes you such an amazing teacher, you know, because you see yourself first as a student. And as a fellow teacher here, I always believe that we are that first example of being a student and exemplifying what it means to learn and to engage in learning. And you have had such a colorful journey, and today I get to talk to you about where life has taken you. You know, in the first intro episode that we kicked off, you had asked me some very important questions about life and my perspectives from teaching to what it's like to be a Blackfoot woman. And today I have the honor of getting some perspective from you as my Cree sister. I want to start off with asking you, where is home for you?
Home is in my heart. My heart is with my children, my mom, my family, and my adopted people like you. That's home. So that would be all of Alberta. Well, from central northern Alberta to southern, almost to the border. Yeah, that's home.
And I see how so well connected you are to your family. I mean, we follow each other on our social media, and I get to see a snapshot into the daily life of your adventures in the classroom and your many travels all over the world. And of course, I'm always seeing how connected you are with your children and your grandchildren, and the lovely selfies of you and your mom. I love it, and I can see how important family is to you. What was it like growing up in the Saddle Lake Cree Nation?
I was raised there up until the age of 9 years old. I lived a typical childhood. My family actually was originally a farming family, believe it or not, but my mom organized that when things started getting more settled with my dad's sobriety. And I actually was fortunate enough to not witness alcohol in my upbringing between both parents. And being on the reserve, I knew there was a disconnect between the people I am a part of as a Cree person living under Indian Act law, and then the outside world, as we often call it, where mainstream Canadians live. There is a very, very clear difference, and the histories are very separate. So this is the large gap that we exist in, and have a hard time really finding that path to each other, or more peaceful coexistence with each other. But reserve life, growing up, yeah, it was 9 years when I was younger, and then as a teenager, a few more years. I mean, standard teenagehood, it's not much different than a lot of other teenagers. You get involved with other people, have your fun, navigate your way through life, go through the ups and downs and lows as everybody else, and figure out what you're going to do from there and move on.
Okay, first off, I have to say, when I think of you, typical is not a word I connect with you.
Come on.
You are one of a kind, truly.
Yeah.
Those are my white flag points right there. to the big sister, Cree sister here. But really, I mean, I think that's so beautiful, the way you look at how your journey started as a child, and how important it is to explore things and to live through your experiences, and more importantly, to share those experiences. And I see that you have a gift, a skill, and the ability to be able to share those experiences with your students in a very unique way that allows them to feel connected to you, while also maintaining that respect as their teacher in the classroom. Tell me about your teaching journey.
I first started working on my reserve from 2000 to 2003. They had a hard time getting a trades teacher, which is my specialty as a cosmetologist, because I'm a licensed hairstylist, into our school on my reserve, after the one who had been teaching there for a while was let go. So the job was dropped into my lap, and I held that position for 3 years. So it was my first experience, and I learned off the swing of my hips with that position. And I embraced it. I worked hard at it. I came with a fierceness of spirit and heart from knowing the backgrounds of our people, the kids, and the struggles that they exist in and still continue to exist in. So I gave my all. Then I realized I need to go back to school in order to get my paperwork under my belt so I can advance further and do more. And that's what I did. So from there, I was told in a sweat lodge by my late uncle that grandfathers told me that I had to go and teach in white schools when I was done. And that at that time when I was told that, I was actually in the middle of pursuing my degree in education. And it was a very surprising moment because I did not ask any questions. The grandfathers just told me straight. And I knew from there I had to follow through. So I did. In the first 2 years of my career, once I convocated, I taught in white schools, so to speak. And it was a pretty great learning journey. But my heart's with our Native people, and that's where I was drawn to. And since then, I've worked in First Nation schools, and I'm still working in First Nation school, Cree school in Musqueam, Alberta. And the spirit I bring is that of a history that I feel is even deeper than my own history. And it's just natural. It just flows through me, and I come from that space when I'm speaking and teaching and we're pursuing a certain topic or an understanding of something. The words just flow. It's I suppose that's that gift you're talking about. I mean, I can't remember a lot of what I say. Like, I don't know the details, but all I can say is that my heart and spirit are rooted and true to our identity and our roots and who we are as Nahiawak-Nitsitapi, as the first people of this land. And there's absolutely nothing I can do about it, and there's absolutely nothing I want to do about it, because I'm going to ride this horse till this horse can ride no more.
Oh, yeah. The horse with a purple mane, just
Exactly.
like you.
Yes. Purple, black, white.
Speaking of colors, you have different areas of your life that you have been able to experience. And I just want to go back on when you mentioned your area in the trades, or the gift of making others feel beautiful and bringing out their gorgeous locks, their main features, if you will, as a hairstylist. So what have you noticed in students or young people who take those classes from you, where they are learning, starting perhaps what could be a very rich career in that industry, or just simply coming in for a semester and taking this class from you? What's your hidden agenda with teaching that course? Because as we know, we're going beyond the curriculum here.
Well, it's the perfect platform to teach our young people how beautiful they are and how skilled they are. Not only that, but how to not give up, because some of these easy tasks, in my opinion, they're easy when working with hair or nails. It's super difficult for some of them. And I tell them stories all the time about students I've worked with who had those same struggles, and they persevered. I've witnessed it personally. It's such a beautiful experience to witness people transform in the way they achieve things. It's amazing, and I get to be a part of that process. And so I'm able to share these stories with any student, to the situation that they're facing, and even with life. Working with youth, their struggles. I mean, I remember being a teenager. Dear God, thank you for allowing us to be teenagers only once in our lives, because I ain't going back there.
And we survived. We lived. We are living to tell. Okay.
For the amount of times
we made it out alive.
Gosh, it's yeah, teenagehood. Yeah. Well, we all know. So I get that. I get it. The memories are rooted in my brain, and I do my best to impress upon them the spirit of Akameimuk, never give up, and just persevere. And
would you say that it's part of your own wellness philosophy, or your own implementation or connection to wellness? I mean, you're out there and you look like you could very well be prepared to compete in an Iron Woman competition. I kid you not, because I'm looking at you and you're doing your workout videos, you're eating well, you're making your green smoothies, you're enjoying also the finer things in life as well throughout your world travels. But I recognize in you, you're wellness journey that you're on?
You realize food has a slave master, and sometimes I'm a slave that falls into the paws of some of these slave masters, such as Bannock, right? I mean, I'm just so weak. Yes, as for that part, I don't know, since I was small, I was always in pursuit of happiness in my own way, in Jacqueline's way. And oftentimes I lost that way, but it was always something that was present, ever present, whether or not I was conscious of it. So now I've become more conscious of it with a lot of life changes I've made recently. And it's become a lot more easier to navigate through things because I noticed one thing about life. It's repetition. Repetition of experiences. Faces may change, the playground may change a little bit, but it's still the same thing you're facing. So it's like, hey, I recognize this. I can get smart to this now. And that's exactly what's going on. So, man, once you get through teenagehood, parenting, and all that ugly stuff, I mean, sorry, maybe beautiful at moments. And it is, right?
Keeping it real.
Yeah, but once you get past all that and you get to my season of life, you can look back at it and it's like, yay, yeah, you can do this, guys. Come on, you can do it. I did it, you can do it. And you can get to this point in your life and it can be great.
Well, that's just like life itself. The beauty is you can always start again. I mean, every day is a new beginning. And just like with wellness, we might fall off the wagon, so to speak, or fall off the purple-maned horse.
Yes.
But we can always start all over again. And it's not necessarily about starting from scratch because, like you said, there's some experience, there's some lessons learned.
Exactly.
And there's some teachings within those lessons that you fill in your toolkit or you take with you in your moss bag.
Exactly.
And you carry those through life. So it's not necessarily starting over, but it's knowing that there's, for those of us that are blessed for another day, there's another day to continue working at it.
Have a personal set of ethics and don't compromise them. It's something that's so valuable and people recognize it. They totally recognize it. And it'll carry your life if you're short of ethics, if your morals are pretty low. That carries your life too. It carries your spirit, and it vibrates outside yourself, and people pick it up. We vibrate at these certain levels of frequencies as people, as humans on this earth, and what we're holding in ourselves is what we give out. So if we can practice a certain way of being, it will definitely carry us. It'll carry me, carry you, and it will help you to achieve what you're after, whatever you're pursuing. Life's hard.
It is, and there's no master plan to follow or blueprint, if you will. It's living, and lived experiences, in my belief system, the most important way to learn is through experiential learning. So through your education journey as a teacher, we always know that the system itself always has room for improvement, education, and there's always different methodologies that are coming out and new perspectives on how to connect with or teach or work with the future generation, children and youth. But right now, if you could identify or pick one issue that you see impacting Indigenous education, because that's where you're currently based and that is tied to your passion, what would you say that issue or concern is that you have?
We have to figure out how to balance our worlds. And we haven't done it yet. And that's the biggest issue we are currently facing. So I appreciate traditional land-based education. I appreciate going into the language. and having our young people practice and build on knowing their language. I appreciate all that. But in the way life is today, it's really difficult to figure out how our language and land-based education fits into universities when you're pursuing degrees in social work or education or sciences, any of these other departments or fields that are separate from our who we are as a people. It's really difficult to figure out that space. It's hard. Where do we go? What do we do? So I've done a lot of hard thinking. I'm actually glad you asked this question because I've done a lot of deep thinking on this, because being who I am, and it's part of me who I am, and I know many other people are struggling with it too, and the only connection I could really figure out is based on our values. That's where my finger just keeps pointing to. Our values are our highest one is love, humility,
Yes.
honesty, truth, respect,
Kindness.
honor. Those are values, and respect is a huge one that we've lost. We've lost it when we are cutting off each other, when we're speaking badly about each other, when we're being mean to each other. We are not being respectful, even to our own selves. We've lost respect. We need to get it back. Love. Everybody's going to define that in their own way, but when it comes right down to it, love is simple. It's kind, it's caring, it's compassionate, it's thoughtful, it's meaningful, it's deep, it's something that gives life to each other. It's our life source.
Love is truly the greatest gift you can give yourself, because when you can love yourself, you can embrace all the values, and you can love those around you, and you can receive love. And the beautiful part is love is already, we are born with love already in our hearts and in our spirits.
Exactly.
It needs to be beliefs and how we come into this world. And what I would love for our young people to know from day one, straight through, no matter what adversity or challenges they face, is that you are love. You are love.
Yes.
And therefore, you can receive love and you can give love.
We come from a powerful, loving people. It is so powerful. Our history is rich with it. Our stories are rich with it. It's to find love, look to our stories. You'll find it. And we are loved. I found love in our history when I was studying in university, looking at the history of the Cree people and the things they went through and endured and persevered through, and the signing of the treaties and what our ancestors wanted. And when I read it from that space and place within myself, I knew I had zero doubt that I was special and I was loved and I was important. I knew it. I had zero doubts anymore. So it empowered me. It lightened my bright light that sometimes dims, and that's the way it often was in my past, was a very dim bright light. But after learning all that, my bright light just went and I have so much stories from that time period of things I experienced that are messages from the other side who I know that I received, and I'll be writing about that. But exactly, we have a lot to give. We are amazing people. We're phenomenal people.
Well, you are in a very unique, special, and honorable role as a teacher and teaching our youth. And leading by example, living by example in how you love yourself. I mean, you exude so much positivity and beauty inside out, and that resonates wherever you go. And the young people are watching, and it really is a responsibility of anybody who's older than somebody in our communities. Really is in a wonderful position to be able to demonstrate that self-love, because there's always somebody younger watching And I think even if our adolescents could,
I watch people.
yes, you're still learning.
I watch what not to do and what to do.
Yes, but that's the beauty. You're a lifelong learner. You're a true lifelong learner.
Exactly.
And that's what you take with you, and you share that with your students. Like I said, you're living by example, and simply by just being authentic, being your true self, connecting your true self, and getting to know your true self. And we know that doesn't happen overnight because, like you said, there's the whole childhood and then into adolescence and into adulthood and so on. There's always self-discovery, room for self-discovery, self-exploration, and of course, growth.
True happiness and authenticity is dependent on yourself.
Yes.
You have to make peace with yourself. Making peace with yourself, you have to do the work. You have to look at what bothers you.
Yes.
Who bothers you? What aggravates you? What do you hate? These are all between you and you. Our mind makes us think it's between yourself and the individual or the space, whatever. Your mind tricks you like that. So you need to do that work in order to come to that place of peace and say, you know what, it's the past. I need to breathe it away and breathe in fresh air that is going to make me think and respond and be more freer to be who you are, to be who I am. It's a lot of work because it's constant reminding. There's lots of triggers all the time.
Absolutely.
But in the end, it's worth it because
Yes.
you become a free spirit. I feel freer today than I've felt in my whole life. In so many ways, in so many multiple ways. And I'm not talking about just because I have a job that provides me a very secure income and I'm able to do a lot of things. It's not just about that. It's about the work I've done within myself.
Yes.
And I'm able to navigate my way through relationships.
Yes.
Amongst people, amongst strangers, amongst social media, like just everywhere. So this is something that's personal. It's within me. And I suggest and I recommend everybody do the same. It's the most liberating thing you can ever do.
You're living your dreams. I love it. And it's always like you're trying a new experience too. You open yourself up to new experiences. And all of that is part of the whole self-love journey. And it's really about looking inward, like you said, getting real with yourself, doing that work when it's uncomfortable. It's something that we're not ready to or super excited to look at within ourselves and deal with and heal through, but it's necessary, and it's necessary to our survival and for us to get to the point where we are thriving. And Jacqueline, you are thriving. You are living that example of how our ancestors, we were not simply survivors, we were thrivers because we were in touch with our authentic selves, and in doing so, it was about everybody else around us. We took care of ourselves, but we took care of everybody around us. And that is one of the most selfless acts we could have. And I think as human beings, we tend to forget that, when we sometimes get so wrapped up in our own world, in our head, our own narratives that run through our mind and keep us up at night sometimes, or like you said, we end up disconnecting or projecting it onto somebody else. Well, if we look inside and we get real with ourselves and we do that work, that's not easy, it's uncomfortable, but it's so worth it. And you are somebody who's doing that. And it's amazing because you're a strong woman in your community and in our communities, and you carry that where we go. And it's really important I want to acknowledge that it's our women who are part of the healing processes, nurturing the healing processes. Our men have work to do as well.
We all do, right?
We do. Yeah. However, it's our women who have a very unique and essential role in the healing circle of our communities, of our families, and with our children. And you're doing that.
Well, God chose me. Just kidding.
I think you're onto something. You're not far off.
We choose ourselves, right? We choose and we can step up. We all have that decision each and every day, whether or not we want to. So it's about really nurturing our spirits, knowing who we are, know yourself. Know yourself.
Yes.
I can make suggestions. I can point you in different directions, but in the end, you're the one that decides, because you have to do what fits you, what feels right. You got to do it that way. I can't tell you this is
Yes.
the way you got to do it. I mean, they tried to do that with me. It didn't work very well. So
They see me rolling.
I did it my way.
Jacqueline, we want to do it your way.
Was was.
So, Jacqueline, I want to know, who are your heroes? Did you have a hero growing up?
Probably Superwoman, Wonder Woman, Red Sonja. If we were talking about those superheroes, growing up, they were the ones, I suppose. I mean, I just played a lot, so I didn't really think about heroes. It was more like, Jacqueline's gonna do stuff and have fun and see what I can do. And
Jacqueline was her own hero.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
still is. And
it was like I just went about it.
well, we have to be our own hero too at the end of the day. Like you said, we can look to others and of course be inspired. However, we have to walk our own journey. We have to walk in our own moccasins and own them and get on that road and do the work and be our own hero. I love
Exactly.
that concept,
Yeah.
and I see that in you. You're your own hero. Therefore, you're accountable to yourself. You're responsible for your own happiness. You're not seeking it in somebody or something else.
Everybody's fallible. Everybody is fallible. Everybody has weaknesses. So if we epitomize somebody and put them on this huge column to worship them, that's the biggest mistake any of us can do. I've been there, done that.
Yes.
And it's tragic to the soul and spirit when you discover that they have a fault.
Yes.
And it's hard. Then you
Yes.
have nothing to aspire to anymore, right? And so you need to design yourself. You gotta custom design yourself, right? Take a little bit from here, there, that, and just go for it.
You do, and you're right about that. It's so key, and it's almost like when Dorothy discovered there was no wizard. When your heroes fall or your heroes disappoint you, and then you realize
Iron Man died.
Oh, don't be a spoiler. I just got through Deadpool, okay? I have a ways to go. I have a lot of
I thought he
catching
was
up.
invincible. He died.
But yeah, it's like heroes die and heroes fail, and sometimes we go through things that feel like a part of us. We lose a part of ourselves and we grieve that. And maybe it was meant to be let go, a layer that we were supposed to release, whether it was from trauma or living in a certain way that really wasn't in alignment with our purpose and was in fact holding us back. And it hurts when you feel the loss of it, but then you feel the healing that comes after it. And then sometimes it is losing those beautiful parts of ourselves. But I always say we can always come back to ourselves too. That's
Exactly.
Blackfoot ways of knowing, and in your Cree culture, we can always come back and reclaim ourselves, just as we are reclaiming our connections to the land. And I know that right now a hot word out there in education is land-based learning. How do you see non-Indigenous educators nurturing land-based learning practices? Do you see it as an all educator responsibility, whether you're Indigenous or non-Indigenous, or do you believe that it should solely be an Indigenous voice leading land-based learning? We look at the schools that don't have a very high or if even have any Indigenous teachers. And, right now everybody's looking at how can we nurture truth and reconciliation practices and processes. But then it's like, oh, where's the Indigenous voice? The Indigenous voice isn't in the room here, so who's going to do it? How do you feel about that? Because that's a hot topic right now, and there's lots of dialogue around that.
Okay, this is Ahcahkoskwew personal opinion, and I'll stand by it. I'll own it. We need our Nehiawak our Nitsitapi to be a part of that, the main key players in it. And it's the truth. It's something that our blood runs into the earth. It flows. Our veins flow into the earth, and that's where we come from. When you have our people who are the professionals, our own people, in knowing the land, knowing the plants, knowing the medicines, just carrying this knowledge, we're dishonoring them. We're dishonoring our children if we're not having them in these places to pass on this knowledge. They're out there, and we need to be more aggressive in reaching out to them and bringing them into the space and place, and to give them that respect and that encouragement to share and everything that is needed to fulfill this outcome for our young people. It's the only way I personally see it. I mean, we can go through Munya Napikwan only, but you're going to lose something that can't be transmitted to our youth. And that's the spiritual aspect of it. It's the stories. It's that knowledge of that our elders, our people carry from their own kukums and musums that have been passed on. Like for myself, I have stories that has been passed on to me, and I can share as well. And only I can do that because it comes from our people. It's the only way it can really do.
It runs through your blood.
Exactly.
It's in your spirit from thousands of years ago.
Exactly.
And you can't duplicate that.
No.
So then I'm curious. I notice you have a large network of various types of teachers, Indigenous and non-Indigenous. What do you say to those non-Indigenous teachers who seek your counsel or validation that they are doing the right thing, or they want to know how to do the right thing when it comes to teaching Indigenous perspectives in education systems, whether it's on reserve or off reserve? How do you best, whether it's you see yourself as a supporter or in place of teaching other teachers? But what I want to know is, what is it you tell them when they seek that?
I would first, if they were to ask me right now, I would first say to them, know yourself. Know yourself. Know your own biases. Look them straight in the mirror, your biases, and be willing to say goodbye to them. Say goodbye. Because the only way that you can really be authentic in delivering these lessons, this information, particularly to our young people or Nehiawak, you need to come from that honest and raw and true place. Because our kids know. They will know. They will know if you're in it. And they'll know whether or not you're being true and real. And they will take what you give them. And if you're not being true or real, guess what they're going to do? They're going to know you're not, and then they're going to look at us as us older Native people, and then they're going to look at us and think, why are you doing this to us? So it's like we're co-conspirators in having Munyawakekwan Napikwanak
White.
Deliver these lessons, and we're approving it. And so what we're doing is we're weakening our blood, we're weakening our spirit, and we're using people to be involved with that. And even our own selves, if we're not being true ourselves too as Nehiawak, Nitsitapi, we're giving that to the kids, our kids. They see it, they know it, and then they learn it.
Yes.
And then when I talk about our values as Nehiawak Nitsitapi, that gets lost because there is no. How can you show something when you're not living it?
Yes.
How can you speak about respect and honesty and truth, which is our values, when we're not being it? You have to be it.
Yes.
So for our non-Indigenous teachers, know yourself, Say goodbye to your biases. Come from that raw and true place. And that's the most beautiful thing that you can give. And reach out to Nehiwak, Nitsitapi. And even if you're rejected, still reach out to them. That's our experience. We've been rejected so many times from non-Indigenous people.
Society.
Exactly. And we still reach out. We're still doing it.
We're still living.
If we can do that, they can do it too.
Yes.
They can reach out. And I know a lot of people, they get shy, they get insecure. And I'm talking about even educated, highly educated, non-Native people, non-Indigenous people. And they prefer to actually just keep that wall between us and them, and then
Yes.
it just stays there.
Too afraid to move.
Exactly.
Therefore, you are part of the problem if you're not going to be part of the solution, which is, like you said, looking inward, questioning your own assumptions, taking a good, long, hard look in the mirror, which really is ultimately digging into your own histories.
If you want reconciliation to be what it really means, it's not us Native people that need to do it. It's the non-Indigenous people that need to do it.
Yes.
Look at the true meaning of it in order for it to really actualize itself in this country. But the reality of it is too many people are comfortable
Yes.
in where they're at. And because we're so segregated still in society, we're on our reserves. You don't see us very much anywhere in general society. We're
Media.
we're a small minority, so we're easy to ignore.
Yes.
We're
Yes.
easy to put off to the side. Very easy.
Yes.
And I don't know, maybe if I were non-Indigenous, I'd be doing the same thing too. Because looking at the history of us Native people in this country and all the stuff that went on, it's horrific.
It's a
horrible.
dark history.
Horrible. It's horrible.
It's ugly.
It's ugly. It's
evil.
It's like walking with the devil. So who wants to look at that?
Yes. And who wants to take responsibility for that?
Exactly.
And identify with
Exactly.
it.
Exactly.
Let alone
it's ugly.
fix it or change it.
I have non-Indigenous friends who they're wounded too from this history. They weren't a part of it. They didn't make any of these decisions, but because they weren't informed of it, they didn't know nothing. The education system didn't teach them anything. It wasn't taught in anything. Then when they discovered it and through their university studies, they're like, it was like a shot to their hearts.
Yes.
And they're wounded from it too.
Yes.
They don't know what to do.
Yes.
But to me, it's like, just be a good person.
Yeah.
Be a good person, be kind, and speak up for us. Somebody speaks badly about us, speak up for us.
Okay, so where do you believe in allies? And if you do, what is an ally to you?
I believe in all of us speaking for each other. Doesn't matter what color you are. We are all one race.
Human
We're
being.
humans. We're one species. We're humans. So, yes, we have different backgrounds, different everything. And if we're not speaking up for somebody who's being hurt or whatever because of their difference, then we're at fault.
Yes.
So we need to just step in and say, Kaya, there's no need for this.
Silence feeds oppression and nurtures oppression, and silence is violence. That's something I've been hearing a lot lately with what's been going on. Do you believe in allies?
We are all allies to something. We all need to be allies to each other, irregardless of what the situation is, whether it's racism, whether it's discrimination against LGBTQT, and all kinds of differences that we have as people in general. We all, as I mentioned before, we are one race, and in order for us to pursue and achieve utopia, nobody can be left behind. Nobody. So it's a combination of acceptance and holding each other up, bringing each other up, and not picking and choosing just because of their race, their religion, their difference, whatever that may be. It has to be just all embraced. Everything needs to be embraced, no exceptions. So allies, yes, with one general broad stroke across humanity, yes. You know, you got to think about that all for one for all mentality, and all is humans.
Well, when you think about it, that is a core belief in our cultures. When we all come together, and sit at the circle, sit around the fire, sit in the teepee, sit in ceremony, regardless of our differences. And in fact, I don't even think we look at it as differences. In fact, we celebrate the uniqueness and the gifts that each of us has been blessed with and have come into this world with. And we, in fact, want to bring that out, enhance it in others, recognize it, honor it, celebrate it, and utilize it, because we all have a purpose and we all need to be busy working at that purpose and really at the service of others. When you think of our elders and you think of the knowledge keepers in our communities and those who are in roles of leadership and who are authentically and purposefully leading, you can see that they're really serving others. Their belief is in serving others, and that is embedded in humility. Once again, you move away from self and you look at what's around me, who is around me, who do I need to be of support today, who can I think of. And if we can get out of our heads and away from our egos and our, through colonized thinking processes, we can really shift away from just focusing on ourselves and our challenges or our issues. And, it's not to say those aren't important. We have to take care of ourselves, the self-care, the wellness. However, when it comes to a point of where, we get sometimes a little tunnel vision and so self-involved, we can be blind about what's going on around us, and we may miss things, and somebody that day may actually need us. So if we can step outside of ourselves here and there and start to look at how we can be of service to others and how we can support others, it really shifts us away from looking at what we don't have, and instead of what do I have that can be of use or support and purposeful for the greater good of others. That's collective thinking. And when you talk about allies, we really were living and thriving together so we could all thrive together, versus seeing differences and, okay, that's going to separate me because they're not like me, or I don't understand them, or they don't look like me, or they don't live like me. And we do that in our own communities, and that's part of those colonization traumas that have impacted us and continue to through intergenerational trauma. And so if we can start to look at what that's really doing to us and go back to collective thinking, we're really going to be able to heal ourselves and align with each other, which when I think of the word ally, I think of aligning. Let's align together and let's embrace and celebrate each and every person.
We need to come from a gentle place, and for the most part, and even when we're coming across in hard words, it needs to come from that love. And in order to change it, it has to come from love. You can speak harshly to people. You can totally speak harshly to people, but with love. And the love is what's going to be transmitted to them. And whether or not they accept it, that's up to them. But when you're using a hard voice with it, it actually is stronger. It makes it more passionate. So there's many ways to do it. You can be gentle, you can be hard, but when it comes from that authentic place of love, for Cree people, the eagle, he's the one that sits beside Creator, and the value that he carries is love. So for us, that's how we understand the eagle. So when we see the eagle, it's love.
Mm-hmm.
It's Creator, and it's a reminder to us.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of eagles, your son is named Eagle. How did his name come about?
My kids never had names when they popped out of my belly. I wasn't that parent that sat and read through baby books trying to find a name or asking people. I wasn't that. I was taught traditionally that you do not name your children until they come into this world. And the reason why behind that is because oftentimes babies did not live, with the lack of medical care that was available. It was Survival of the fittest, literally. So when a baby was born, it was a blessing. And then you can name it, then you plan, then you bring everything to it. But in the meantime, you just pray and wait that this child is going to come to fruition. But when my son was born, he was my last child. Once again, no name. And my partner at the time, we were hashing over names, and he's like, "Hey, let's call him Kihiu." I'm like, "That's a great idea. That fits. Kihiu." And I'm like, "But you know what? We're living in a white world. Let's call him Eagle, because I don't want him to spend all his whole life explaining to everybody what Kihiu means. It's a burden in its own way, having to explain it all the time. And I didn't want to do that to him. So his name is Eagle, and there's another story behind his other names, and I'll tell you about that one time, next time down the road. But for him, I think it's blessed his life in many different ways. So I'm glad. He's my eagle.
Oh, he is, and he's a handsome eagle. Are you just sifting through the applications coming through of prospective future daughter-in-laws, or are you, you know what, eagle keeps soaring, do not look left or right, you have some things to do? You know, what are your conversations like now that he's a young man in your household?
Well, my kids didn't grow up in the most stable home, so they carry these experiences in them, and it's made them make their own decisions, which sometimes I'm not happy about. And that's the way it is with Eagle right now. Is he's made decisions that I'm not happy about, and it's something that I pray about regularly, frequently, and I tell him that. But we're still very close. He's my baby, so he knows it. The conversations I have with him, it's typically about life, how he needs to be living it, and he'll listen, and that's just the way it goes. He's respectful. He's always been respectful towards me. So that's been something I've always appreciated with our relationship. Very thankful.
Well, as his mom, you keep talking to him and continue to share those teachings. And somewhere down the line, like when you think of when you were a teenager, I know when I think of when I was a teenager, my parents were talking, and sometimes it felt like a broken record because they wanted to get through to me, and I was stubborn and rebellious, and I know the world, and really we all know how that goes. But somewhere down the line it clicked in, I believe. It all comes together at certain points in your life, and it doesn't always come together all at the same time. In fact, it comes in people, through lessons, and through moments of reflection, or learning hard lessons. But nonetheless, I'm glad that my parents talked to me. They didn't give up on me. And even I can't imagine what they were thinking at the time when I went through my growing up and the challenges of that, and maybe, not coming across as wanting to listen to them, or rebelling, or, you think you know more than you really do. You're still a baby. But with your son and your parenting and the relationship you have with your daughters, you continue to talk to them and remain connected to them. I think that's so beautiful and so important for our parenting practices, and I see you living that through your parenting. Even though your children are 18 plus, you are still that matriarchal presence in their life, and you support them in different ways. And I know that your son is, you're raising him in a really beautiful way, and the teachings are there, and it's just when he's ready to, or when life shows him, you need to access this. mama bear teachings, he will, and he already is. So if you could say one thing or share some wisdom to Indigenous young parents or Indigenous people who are just at the beginning phase of becoming parents, what is something you would love for them to know that maybe you wished you'd known, or you learned it through a lesson, or just in your own journey? What do you think is something that you want other Indigenous parents who are new at parenting to know?
I would speak to your I would suggest you speak to your elders and learn the practices that we had that carried love for our children, and give that to your children. That's my suggestion, my advice, my words of wisdom, and give that gift. Pass it on to your children. As Nehiawak, Nitsitapi, as First Nations.
It's so enriching. You grew up with that, and I grew up with that, and sitting with the elders on a Saturday in my teenagehood, and again, just wanting to be everywhere else but home. And I'm glad, though. That's a beautiful gift my parents gave me, and a beautiful gift that you have received in your journey, and what has informed your parenting practices. So thank you for sharing that. And I know there's some wonderful parenting practices happening in our communities, and we are looking at the way things used to be back in the teepee days and buffalo hunting days. And we can still access those ways of parenting. I look at family members like my sister and her husband, the way they've been parenting their two children, my niece and nephew, and they're applying those traditional teachings while navigating through a contemporary world. And I see how it has strengthened their identity already as young people. And so I think that's some really, really important advice that you just shared there, with basically giving our young people access to their histories, and through the voice of the elders.
Exactly, and with my grandchildren, I give them that influence too on our ways, and playing with them with the language, teaching them that way with the songs, just different things that I do with them, and they embrace it. They just love it, and it's theirs, it's ours, and that is something that they carry in their hearts, and I see it. They're proud of it. Mm-hmm. There's no shame. There's no hiding behind anything with it. They shine with it.
Tell me about that granddaughter of yours, the one who's going into her schools and taking action onto her own education, and in fact educating her teachers. Tell me about her.
She was in this one school in Calgary. I think it was in her grade 3 year. Pretty sure that was it, grade 2 and 3. And on the walls they had representation of different cultural groups, and she didn't see any Native people being represented in these displays. So she told her teacher she wants to see some Cree things in there and from her people. So her teacher agreed.
Very smart teacher.
So they put up a word wall in the different languages around the area, and teacher did some research, and they put it up, and then they made my little granddaughter the Native ambassador of the school. So she would be involved in activities with the school. She would sometimes be asked to do the greeting in assemblies, acknowledging the land. And she's very competent. She doesn't back down. She's just natural. She's just a natural speaker. She just no fear. Mm-hmm. And she would speak to her teacher all the time about the culture and things that she knows, that she learned through me, and going out to Sundance and sage picking, and sweat lodge, and ceremonial sacrificing, different things like that. And so they invited me in at one point to do a presentation, and she was just right there beside me, standing in front of the whole class, and she would interject very quietly throughout my presentation, just to add more information on what I was sharing about. And she was just so elegant about it. And I was
Amazing.
like, my heart was just like thumping with pride. And I'm like, who is this girl? It's like, dang, man, she fell off from some beautiful Cree sky. But wow, like, talk about coming thousands of miles,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
To being shoved into corners, being ashamed,
Holding back.
marginalized, and the shyness of our people. Like, we're very shy people. I remember being super shy,
Oh.
right? As a kid, right? You know, you're like,
Are you sure this is the same Jacqueline we're talking about?
I was, get me off the reserve. Yeah, I was shy. To a certain extent. But no, my granddaughter, like, no, it's to her, the way I see how she lives, she just looks at life and the world as, I'm learning. Okay, this is what we do. This is who I am, and that's just the way it is. And there's no animosity. There's no warrior thing in her to say, "This is who I am. Respect me." None of that. It's just natural. She's just going through life and excited to be who she is, proud to be who she is, knowing
She
what
knows
she does.
who she is.
Knows exactly.
Yes.
And it's not a problem, right? It's beautiful.
It's natural.
Exactly.
And that's the way it used to be. And that's the way it is becoming again. I mean, you have to look at it as a gift, though. I believe this is a gift in your parenting. It comes back to you. It's coming back to you in another generation. But it came from your children because this is your daughter's little girl. So the teachings have been absorbed and they're being accessed. And now you're seeing it in the next generation, your granddaughter. And there's so many of our little people out there who are
It's natural.
coming into who they are, and they're already knowing who they are. We're looking back now, though, as the adults, and we are now able to see the seeds that have been planted, the renewal through the healing that is ongoing and happening in our lives. And the little people, our children, our babies, our youth, they are mirroring that back to us. And that is such a gift because, I always believe it's not all for nothing. No matter how hard the road is, how painful things get in life and tough it is, just pushing ahead. Our resilience is one of our greatest gifts that we have as Nitsitapi. And we're seeing it in the little people, like your granddaughter. She is modeling that back to you and reflecting that back to you and the other little people she's around. And there are so many of our little people out there who are coming into this world and knowing who they are. And it's a gift. And in our culture, in our ways of knowing, children are so special. And we don't look at it in a hierarchy way. Children are young, they don't know much, you're just beginning, and person is 80 years old, so they're the most, so they're placed on a higher level of importance, but for us it's like we go back to that circle. We all sit side by side, and regardless of age or abilities, we all have something to offer, and we are all valued and important in that circle.
Exactly.
And our little children and our people, our little people, I call them our little people, they are knowing that. And when we can give that to them, we're giving them a gift, and they're going to give the gifts back, which it's circular. And that's how healing works. It's full circle. Things come full circle for us.
I was taught in a traditional way growing up on the values of respect and what exactly that looked like. And we lost that, as I mentioned before. But I feel that I shouldn't say I feel, I do still carry it, and I do my best to teach it to my children. And from what I see, they're pretty good at it for the most part. They're still ironing out some areas, which that's where I step in and remind them about how to be. And it's good. It's life is life is what you make it. Life is what you make it. You know, and sometimes you can't. Your circumstances can be beyond your control. And that's where we can look to other people's stories to help ourselves, help the way we think, reframe our thinking so that we can get through these moments. Because I can guarantee you one thing, everything changes.
Yes.
Nothing stays the same. I can guarantee you that.
Absolutely. Like your hair color. I love it. I know you put in the purple, but then you add some black in, and then your beautiful rich white. And then it becomes, it grows another layer of purple, or it's constantly changing.
Exactly.
Life is a palette full of hair colors to choose from. You know, wear it and rock it, and even if it doesn't come out right, you know there's another beautiful color to experiment with.
Come along again.
Yes. Okay, I want to know, you know, of all the conversations you and I have had over the years, and like I said at the beginning of our conversation tonight, I'm always feeling like I'm gaining another. I'm honored to have another layer revealed to me as your friend and as your soul sister. But I want to know, so something I'm curious about. What was little Jacqueline like? I know you touched on it a little bit. You said you were shy, but I sit here and I see you in your season of life right now, and I'm trying to envision a very shy little Cree girl, Jacqueline, and I wonder what she was like. I just know you and I would have been really good friends too back in the day. So tell me, confess.
Wait a sec, I need to call my sister.
Isn't it the other way around? You don't want me to call your sister because she's going to give me the unfiltered version, you know, the unphotoshopped version.
Well, okay, I'm just going to put myself in the shoes of my sister.
Okay, yeah. What would she say about
apart,
you?
Right, we're 19 months apart, and we were like together a lot.
Is this Anne?
Yes. So what time frame are you talking about? Like when I was a little kid, teenager?
Okay, let's do 10-year-old Jacqueline. I want to know who 10-year-old Jacqueline is, and then I want to know who 16-year-old Jacqueline was.
10-year-old Jacqueline was a very hurt little girl. Very hurt. Just went through watching my parents split, being in foster care, having a lot of neglect, shifting around, just experiencing things that I hadn't experienced prior to the split. So world was very chaotic, and I was coming through that stream. So Jacqueline was hurt, trying to figure out life, and doing still the best she could in school, playing as always, and losing a little bit of that smile that used to come very frequently prior to all that. And my oldest sister, Martha, could attest to that because she would tell me, when I used to be at the house and I'd be babysitting and you guys would come home from school, you'd come racing up to the house with your little metal lunch can and you'd have this big toothless grin on your face. I'm like, oh, so I was happy. She goes, you were always smiling. I'm like, okay. Because I was happy. I was happy. And after all that came down in that time period when my mom left, everything just spiraled down into this black hole. And us kids were left out of a lot of conversations, so we did not understand anything. We were just following the route of wherever we were being brought to from the adults. And that's 10-year-old Jacqueline. Teenage Jacqueline was a little bit more vivacious. She loved dancing, break dancing.
Cool.
Learned to do the moonwalk.
Uh-huh.
I was very out there. I performed air guitars back then on stages, competed.
Oh, yeah.
I just like having fun, right? And I was still messed up, still hurt and wounded in my own ways from past, obviously, but my mom was surviving too, raising us, so I helped her out a lot. But For the most part, I was always very, very sociable. I was a fighter in my own way. I eventually started standing up to my bullies and establishing who I was. And that I was tired of letting people push me around. So it worked. I was very effective. My words always seemed to do the trick. I didn't have to use my fists. Only once, but that was from a res fight back in the day. But whatever.
I'm
Which is
sure
once. Which is once.
everyone has one res fight in their pocket.
Yeah, it was just once. It happened quick. That was that. But no, I got a beating once from my mom with a broom. That was interesting. I got strappings from the principals in junior high. But it was all right. I mean, it's all food for fodder. I mean, I shouldn't say those words. It was experience.
Yeah, but I mean, that very perspective of yours is what has been part of your strengths. Not choosing to dwell and not choosing to sit in sadness or dwell. Yeah.
Jacqueline had a life to live, had challenges, had dreams, and being the oldest of the three girls at the bottom end of the family tree, I knew I had to kind of pave a way for my younger sisters to follow. I felt like I had this responsibility to show. So I did. I took it on. I took that personal responsibility to do it. And two, I wanted my mom to be proud of me. So a lot of that drove me, wanting that pride to show up for my mom. So my mom drove me a lot within my heart and spirit. And that was my relationship I had with me for her because of my love for her.
Yes.
And I did it. I graduated. I went to beauty school. I was working as a hairstylist in Calgary at the age of 18 in downtown Hudson Bay shop. Yeah, I got on my own, renting my own apartment with a cousin here. I was 18 years old, turning 19. I mean, I flew.
You're still flying.
Jacqueline lost some wings there for a while, but she found them again.
Yes, that's so beautiful. We can always find and reclaim our wings, our spirits, our purpose, and be okay, or I don't know if the word is be okay, but just embrace every part of our journey, because that's what led us to this very moment. And you are such a strong woman in so many ways, and just sharing your story. And for those out there who have had their own experiences of being a child in foster care, and then looking at someone like yourself and how you have thrived. You are living a life of thriving, and you're passionate, and you're sharing that with others. You're not just keeping it to yourself. And you didn't allow those challenges in your young life and whatever else you have encountered throughout your life to hold you back or be an excuse for why you won't realize your potential and hold it against yourself. You've just continued to live. And that's how it is. It's like a river. When we think of a river, our tears that flow, the blood that flows through our body, the river, it's all about cleansing. And the river doesn't go backwards. It always is moving. It's moving forward. And that's how our healing works. But we have to move with that river. We have to keep moving with it. There is no time to stop and dwell. Of course, we have to look back and reflect on what has hurt us so we can heal. But then we keep going. And you do that. You do that in your life so gracefully too. And with that beautiful humor, that trickster in you. She's a powerful one.
I made a deal with Creator when I was going through a lot of my challenges. I told Creator, you know what? This is hard. And it sucks. I'm in a lot of pain. I don't want to be here anymore. But I'm going to be here. And I know that. So you got to take care of me. Because this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to count on you to help me. And that's what I told him. And he did. And I knew it. I could see it. In the silence of different things I would come across, people, experiences. I knew it. So giving up wasn't an option. And I just kept going. And it paid itself off. Because I tell you, even when I went through all that, I still wanted to leave. Took a long effing time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I made that deal. I made that agreement. And it would have been my own fault if I gave up. My own selfishness, my own self-pity, my own just weakness. And this Cree woman ain't weak.
Another word I do not affiliate with you is typical and weak. No. You and weak is, yeah. You're not even that far distant cousin, okay?
My mom can change a flat tire, while she's in labor on the way to a hospital. I can do this.
Oh, yeah. Those Cree women. Dem Cree women.
We're born from a mountain.
Oh, yeah. Dem Crees and dem Blackfoots. Oh, but you come from a long line of powerful women, and you're carrying that. And I honor what you have shared. Thank you for sharing that. That's powerful and beautiful. And I'm moved by your story. Just when I think I know you, you give me another bead.
I'm giving you drops.
Yes. I'm just like beating a cuff here, and it's like, give me more. I want to make like beaded moccasins
Whole
here.
body.
Yes.
Do a whole body bead.
Oh, but wow. Making an agreement with Creator.
Yeah, I did.
That is powerful. And Creator just waits for us. It's like Creator is waiting for us to take that ownership over ourselves and claim it, and everything within us is there. Everything we need is all within us.
And it doesn't mean that it's any easier. It doesn't mean that at all. You know, even when you've had your successes, you get through that one hoop onto the next one. It doesn't mean it's easier. But life can get more beautiful. Not that it isn't beautiful, but it can be more beautiful to the point where you can actually feel it and see it. Because before it was hard to feel and see it.
Yes.
For a long time. But once you start getting to that point where you can actually start feeling it and seeing it, because life is beautiful, but we get filled up with darkness from our experiences and our pains that we hold within ourselves that we don't let go of, that we can't see it, we can't feel it. So when we start making that trek, that journey to want better, to have better, to live this life in a way where you can enjoy it, where you can experience it the way people are, or that we see now even through social media are living it. You can see in their eyes, and you know the eyes tell everything.
Yes.
And you can tell.
Yes.
And when I look at those type of images, not only on social media, but in people in general. You can feel it off their spirits. It vibrates off them, and you're
Yes.
thinking, I want that. I want that. Why not? Why not?
Or please keep that away from me. Those that are just carrying that dark cloud around, and there's some darkness there and some things that they're not dealing with in their life.
you pray for them.
You see it and you pray for them. And then you have gratitude, and and again you look at yourself and you say, wait, what am I indulging here and giving too much thought to and energy to? It's not so bad. Or you know what, I'm not the only one. There's others out there. We're all struggling. We're all on a journey, and we're all going to get through it. And like you said earlier, we are what we believe about ourselves. Yeah. Therefore, we can become what we believe about ourselves if we have not reached that point yet of fulfilling our purpose.
Know yourself.
Yes, know yourself. I think that's maybe a working title for the book that you're working on. I'm so excited to read it.
I did it my way.
She did it her way. I love it. I love it. All right, now, I am loving this conversation, and you and I, we could be sitting here and the sun could be coming up, and we could go on and share stories, and we will. That's the beauty of our friendship, is there's always more time and there's always more stories to share. But right now, I think our tummies are rumbling. We're going to go out for dinner. Yummy. Was that a hungry trill? Because I know I've heard bigger from you.
It means somebody killed some food and they're calling me to go and eat.
This is going to be great. A wonderful way to bond in friendship. And for those of you out there listening, when you think of ways that you connect with your loved ones, your friends, your family, it's often over food, I would say. I think that's a common thing as human beings. And I know in our cultures, we sit and we gather and we feast and we laugh and then we cry and then we laugh some more and we eat and we feed our spirits when we feast. It's more than just a physical fulfillment. It's a spiritual renewal, and I'm very excited to feast with you tonight.
Don't forget the cake in the face.
Oh yeah, that too. Now, what kind of cake are we talking here?
It's always birthday cakes.
Oh yeah, okay.
It's a family tradition here.
Yeah, but is it chocolate or vanilla? So it's that time where we get to say until next time. I'm going to teach you a Blackfoot word, and then I'm going to give you the fun final four. Rubs my hands together and gives you that foxy sly look.
And I got my Cree thoughts going strong.
Just don't say Cree medicine.
Okay, then I'll just say Muskegee.
Remember, we're trying to bury the hatchet.
Yes, always.
Then again, we're both really hungry here, so the hangry sides of each of us is going to come out.
The arrows are coming out slowly.
Okay. All right. My Blackfoot word, since we are coming to a beautiful close of tonight's conversation, and there's definitely more to come. I know I'm super excited for our episode on food, Indigenous food, fancy food, fun food, and all that jazz. So I thought I would end off our conversation with, the Blackfoot word is how in Blackfoot ways of knowing, we don't say goodbye. We say until we meet again. So until we meet again, Jacqueline, Gidak-gidamatsin.
Gidak-gidamatsin.
Yeah. Oh, said like a real Blackfoot woman. Just slow it down a little. Gidak-gidamatsin. Final four. Are you ready? Moment of truth, Ms.
Shoot.
Jacqueline.
Shoot it. Give me all you got.
Okay. Chocolate or vanilla?
Vanilla.
Ooh, that was a quick one. Okay. Mountains or oceans? Because you have traveled, and I know you like to indulge what those places have to offer. So, if you had to have the next vacation, or better yet, if you... Ooh, okay. Ocean.
I know you're going to go on like, hey, ocean.
You're like, I'm out of here as soon as COVID's off, COVID travel restrictions. I'm out of here. I'm out of the mountains, the plains. Get me to the ocean.
Exactly.
Get to the chopper. Okay. Noikska, number 3. Here we go. Buffalo meat or moose meat?
Moose meat. I've never had buffalo meat.
Okay, now I know what I'm going to feed you the next time you come down.
Bring it.
I'm going to give you a big old buffalo tongue.
Bring it.
Hey, if you can do the moose nose, I know that you're capable of anything, so.
Exactly. You don't, yeah, like, I have stuff to tell you.
Okay, last, final 4 question. Coffee or tea?
Depends on my mood. Coffee in the morning, tea in the evening.
Okay, yeah, I dig it. All right. Our bellies are grumbling and the hangry side is coming out. These smiles are not going to be on for very much longer.
Your hair's grown redder.
Yes. Red rage.
My purple's starting to reflect some red in it too.
Oh, yeah. I'm rubbing off real good. Okay. All right. I am going, the Blackfoot word I'm going to end this off with to teach you is going to be how in our ways of knowing, we don't believe in saying goodbye. There is no goodbye word in Blackfoot language. What we say is until we meet again. Gidakidamatsin. You just sounded like a Blackfoot gookum, if ever there was one. I love it. You're going to be such... I know you're a gookum right now, but when you get to be that real tiny little cute gookum, so you have a long ways to go before you get there.
Yeah. Give me 50 years.
You're a
Give me 50 years.
You're a glam lady. You're glam gram, so you've got a long ways to go.
Yes.
Okay, so that's my word for you. Now tell me what you say in Cree.
Examaga.
Examaga.
Good for now. Later.
Exagama.
Examaga. I say Blackfoot better than you say Cree. I knew it.
Hey, you have a Blackfoot grandbaby. There's the true colors.
No, they don't know Blackfoot. Okay, Marianne, you didn't hear that. They know some.
And so the true colors come out. Okay, let's try that again. I was too busy trying to do my Cree impression of a gookum. So.
Oh, okay. Focus.
Okay.
Examaga.
Examaga.
There you go.
Examaga. Hanya again.
Kitwam.
So gapi. There it is, folks. Wonderful conversation. Won't be the last with Team Creefoot. And we look forward to sharing many more stories, laughter, some tears maybe, some passion, and most of all, sharing purpose, helping us dig a little deeper, reflect, and embrace who we are every day.
Ay, Dapuemaga, Examaga.
Yeah. I am so grateful to have had such a rich conversation with my soul sister, Jacqueline Ahcahkoskwew, who is truly a strong, beautiful, smart,
warrior woman. I really enjoyed hearing her story today, and I learned more about who she is as a person. And it really gave me an appreciation for who she is, her wisdom, and all that she has to offer in this world as a woman, as a mother, as a grandmother, as a sister, as a teacher, and as a friend. This story was about healing, and we all have places in our lives that, some of us are still healing and addressing things that we've experienced and some tough situations that we've come through. And so I'm truly honored to have shared space with Jacqueline today as she shared her story. And, we can all take something away from this today, and each and every one of us will have our own ways of connecting with it, whether, we connect with it on a personal level or if somebody in our own life is going through their own healing journey. Because I really do believe that healing is a lifelong journey for us, Nitsitapi. And it is everyday work, and it is so worth it to give to ourselves. It's truly a beautiful gift because we are worth it. To heal means to dig deep, to unpeel the layers, to feel the pain, and to release it. And healing is ultimately love. And whenever Jacqueline and I get together, or when we are texting or talking on the phone, we often have, lots of ways of communicating, whether it's through humor or sharing some tears or giving each other a nice big hug and, just sharing that sisterhood and connecting together as women. Sitting in circle with other women really is what helps us heal and makes us stronger, and also reminds us that we aren't alone out there. And it also is telling of the power of the women in our communities, and they really are our sources of bringing life into this world. And as women, we really do have special roles, and we are nurturers, and we do take care of our communities, our families, and everyone around us. So I'm grateful to all the strong women out there and all the strong Nitsitapiaki warrior women out there who are making changes to make this world a better place and preparing it for our younger people and the next generation. So I lift my feather up high to all of you amazing, beautiful, strong warrior women out there, and big thanks and gratitude to Jacqueline for sharing her story today with all of us. Nitsikdaksitak. So I hope you enjoyed that conversation and that you give yourself a nice big hug and fill up your coffee cup or your teapot and sit back and do some reflection on how far you have come, and to remember how beautiful you are and that you have a purpose in this world, and that you sure make someone else's life brighter and better just by being in it. So have a wonderful and beautiful, blessed rest of your day.